A quick poll for everyone. Who else is kind of disappointed that this episode didn't have the confrontation with Cinder and Raven's bandits? Me. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Jake of the OneManBand is back again. Welcome back to another RWBY Volume 5 episodic review. We're taking a look at Chapter 8 this time around. We're officially over halfway through this season now, this volume, since it appears that the rumors of there being 14 chapters in this volume seem to be getting truer and truer with every new installation. Because it just seems like so much more needs to happen in this volume. But enough about that. That's for future episodes. Right now, let's concentrate on this one. So, this episode starts off with us back in Mistral. And it appears that it's a nice, bright, sunshiny morning. And Ruby's just sitting outside. Apparently, well, she just couldn't go back to sleep after waking up. I guess she woke up early. So, you know, couldn't go back to sleep. Sounds a lot like me when I wake up. But she is soon joined by both Yang and Weiss. Yang does a cute little thing where she tries to boop Ruby with her very long hair. Though it's kind of weird because she says boop before she lets her hair flow down, and then she doesn't even really touch Ruby with her hair. But at least it's some sisterly love going on. And, of course, Weiss comes in when everybody says that, well, they just couldn't go back to sleep. Well, Weiss comes to the rescue with our Lord and Savior, coffee. And that's the hot beverage, not team coffee, which I would absolutely kill to see again in this show. And we also get a nice callback to Volume 1, where Weiss remembers Ruby's coffee habits, how she likes a whole bunch of cream and a lot of sugar in her coffee, essentially making it to the point where it is hardly coffee at that point. So with our three girls enjoying their morning coffee, Yang kind of takes it all in and is very surprised and voices her surprise on how everything is, you know, what is all going on with the maidens and magic and Salem and the concept that they're all there in Mistral. It just seems so crazy. To which Ruby pipes up that she wishes Blake was there. You know, the fourth person to their team. They're sort of missing wheel, if you will. But Yang doesn't really take too kindly to Ruby's comment. It's very clearly shown in this part of the episode that Yang is very much still mad at Blake for leaving the way that she did back at the end of Volume 3. And I say she's justified to be mad after everything that happened, after everything that Yang did for her, after everything that the whole team did for her. It just seems very much like a backstab to have Blake simply leave without really telling anyone what she was doing, where she was going, and without even a simple goodbye. And when Ruby and Weiss try to give Blake the benefit of the doubt, which I think is actually very interesting that it's Weiss and Ruby coming to Blake's defense rather than Yang. Yang was really close with Blake back during the Beacon Saga, and Weiss, although her and Blake had their differences at the beginning, it appears that they really bonded off-screen during Volumes 2 and 3. And Ruby, we didn't really get to see a lot of time with just her and Blake. So, I think it's really interesting that we get to see Ruby and Weiss coming to Blake's defense, but Yang is just having none of it, and pretty much just takes herself out of this conversation. It's been soiled by bringing up Blake. And speaking of bringing up Blake, we then transfer over to Blake's point of view, over in Menagerie. Now, as we know, the White Fang are gearing up for an attack on the Belladonna Manor. However, Blake and Son still seem to be trying to gather up people to go to Mistral to aid in its defense, and they're about to head off to a nocturnal Grimm section of the city. So, we're once again getting a lot more variations of Faunus coming up in the series. Now that we have Nocturnal Grimm, maybe that qualifies as the Bat Grimm, Yuma. Bats are nocturnal, maybe there's sort of owl-type Faunus and other nocturnal animal Faunus. Of course, well, in this episode we don't get to see the nocturnal part of the city, but it's at least something to keep in mind. Yet before they can head out, Blake finds a note taped to the railing of the balcony she's standing on, and it's from Ilya. The note pretty much says, and there's going to be a picture of it right up here on screen, it's pretty much saying that things are kind of getting out of hand and that she needs to talk to Blake. Please come alone, I will find you. And, well, we know that Blake wants to help Ilya, like Sun helped Blake, so the concept of Blake actually following this note is high. And of course, we all know it's a trap. We know it's a trap. Corsic and Finnick specifically told Ilya to get Blake out of the way so that her family could be taken care of. We know it's a trap, and I was just sitting there when I was watching this episode just like, Blake, please don't go alone. If you go alone, you will destroy any faith I have in you left. Please don't go alone. Please don't go alone. However, we're gonna have to come back to that plot point, because right now in the episode, we transition over back to Yang. So after she left the conversation outside of the dormitory, she went back to her room, where she's looking at an old picture of the entirety of Team RWBY. Now it's here that, at least I believe, she still cares about Blake. She still cares about her as an individual. But the betrayal that she felt by Blake is what's holding her back. She wants to be there for Blake. She wants Blake to be back with everyone. But that betrayal is still gonna be there, and it's just hurt Yang the most. And when someone comes to the door, Yang instinctively says that she doesn't want to talk to RWBY. Yet RWBY isn't there, and it's Weiss. And I was so happy to see this, because we're getting Yang and Weiss moments that I wanted, and I thought that we had lost when they had joined back up with everyone and left Raven's bandit camp. But we actually get to get Yang and Weiss moments. So it's here that Yang opens up and talks about everything that's been going on with her. She talks about how when she was young and RWBY was just a baby, Raven was already gone, Summer Rose was dead, Taeyang and Crow were busy with work, and she was left all alone to pick up the pieces and pretty much be there for herself as well as RWBY. And after going through that sort of childhood, and then what happened with Blake, and then with RWBY going off on her own at the end of Volume 3, it is completely apparent that Yang has abandonment issues. She does not want to be left alone. She doesn't want to be abandoned by the people that she cares about. And when Blake left the way that she did, that was, to Yang, one of the biggest betrayals, because she had taken so much time getting to know Blake, wanting to be there for her, wanting to help her, and then to have Blake just leave without even a goodbye is what truly destroyed Yang, and is what is harboring Yang's grudge against Blake. And Yang doesn't believe that anyone truly understands where she's coming from, or doesn't understand her pain. And in a way, she is correct. However, Weiss has a, albeit different, but similar form of isolation and abandonment issues. She talks about how during one of her birthday parties, her father actually admitted to her mother that he had only married into the family for their name. And me and my girlfriend Erin, this is something that we believed was so all the way back in Volume 4 when we learned about the Schnee Dust Company. We thought, oh, he really probably only married into the family for their name and their money. And Jacques Schnee, Papa Schnee, openly admits this to his wife, to his children, on the date of one of his children's birthdays. He is a grade A asshole. Unredeemable. He must be burned at the stake. And it's due to this that Weiss's mother became an alcoholic recluse, and her father just drifted away. And think about it. Now that he had gotten that off his chest and had pretty much put his wife and Weiss's mother in a form of self-induced comatose state, or at least a dulled state, he could pretty much do whatever he wanted and not have to pretend, oh yes, I really care about you, honey. I care about my wife. He could just put on that facade for the people around him, but in the privacy of his home, he didn't have to do that anymore. In a way that freed Weiss's father from, heaven forbid, be the shackles of having an actual family. And you know what? What's more amazing than all that is that Weiss was able to become a stronger person through that. Although she did stumble and, you know, wasn't really good at the whole friend and family thing in Volume 1 and even at the beginning of Volume 2, throughout her time with being with Team RWBY, she has come to see them as sisters and as family, and she would do anything for them. Weiss goes on to say that there's different forms of loneliness. Both Yang and Weiss have their different kinds of loneliness, and Blake sort of has it too. Her form of loneliness is that she was brought into Beacon Academy. She had to hide who she was for the sake of everyone around her, because if anyone knew, then, you know, the White Fang would come after her, Adam would come after her, and well, we all saw what happened there. Yang lost an arm, Blake got stabbed, and freaking Beacon fell. It was when Blake let her guard down, let herself open up to people, that everything went wrong, and as Weiss puts it, the universe proved Blake right. That the reason why she was paranoid, the reason why she was so secretive, was right. Because things were gonna come for her. Things were gonna get bad for the people that Blake cared about. And I completely agree with what Weiss is saying. This is the analysis that I came to at the end of Volume 3 and all the way through Volume 4. This is what I was saying. You know, Blake left to, you know, protect the people that she cared about. You know, she did all this stuff to protect herself, and then, you know, everything went to shit real fast. However, Yang brings up a really good point too. She says that Blake chose to leave, but she didn't have to. They could have been there for her. They could have protected her, you know, comforted her, been there for her as friends. The rest of Team RWBY could have been there for Blake and helped her through anything. Blake had friends at Beacon Academy that genuinely loved her for who she was. And Yang goes on to say, what if she needed Blake to be there for her? What if, essentially saying that Blake's leaving damaged Yang more than Blake. Yang needs Blake to be there because, as I said before, Yang has abandonment issues. And since so many people in Yang's life have abandoned her or have not been adequate supports, Blake was one of those supports. And with one of her main supports gone, Yang has fallen so far down. Now, I truly believe that Yang needs Blake to be there for her as a friend because she has abandonment issues. And if Blake stays gone, Yang will feel like she has failed in this situation and that she was not good enough to hold on to a friendship such as Blake's. However, I know that some people out there kind of see this as a love thing, bringing up the Bumblebee ship, that maybe she needs Blake to be there for her because she loves her. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. If it is the case, then I am at least glad that they're starting to show actual romantic emotions between these two characters, if the Bumblebee ship is actually going to be true. However, I'm still sitting in the ring, sitting on the side that she needs Blake to be there for her because of abandonment issues and because of friendship. And so this beautiful scene between Yang and Weiss ends with RWBY coming in and pretty much everything's gonna be alright between the three. And, well, Blake is just the fourth wheel that needs to get back with Team RWBY. And speaking of Blake, we go back to Blake's story. And as I was saying before, don't go alone, Blake. Don't go alone. What does she do? She goes alone. And before you put it in the comments, my friends, before you put it in the comments, I know that she had Sun follow her, and Sun is there in the shadows as her backup. However, the first time I watched this episode, at this point, I was completely done with Blake. I was like, Blake, you are stupid. You are an idiot to go to Ilya alone after everything she's done. And to be honest, I completely zoned out for this part of the episode. The first time I watched it. Because of that. I was so mad. And then, once Ilya started talking, I was like, Ilya, you're freaking stupid, okay? Blake, you're stupid. Ilya, you're stupid. You deserve each other. I'm done. But then when Blake came in, I calmed myself back down, and I was like, okay, Blake isn't an idiot. She brought Sun with him. She's making progress. Thank you, Blake, for redeeming yourself in my eyes after sinking to the lowest of lows. And so, on my second watch through of the episode, I was able to watch it with a cool head, knowing what was going to happen, and to be honest, I was not disappointed by this part of the episode. So, as I was saying, Blake seemingly comes alone, and lo and behold, it's a trap! Who would have known? And Blake is ambushed after finding Ilya by the Faunus Yuma and a new Faunus. A Faunus whose name I believe is Trifa and appears to be some form of spider Faunus. So we have insectoid Faunus now, or at least arachnid Faunus. We have fish Faunus, bat Faunus, mammal Faunus, reptile Faunus, and now arachnid slash bug Faunus. Why can't we have bird Faunus already? And now it's here that we finally get to have Ilya's full side of the conflict between the White Fang and humanity, and how Ilya sees the world. Now, to be honest, I'm actually pretty surprised that Blake kept her cool as much as she did and actually tried to pump Ilya for information. She asks Ilya, how can you be like this? How can you support a group and be part of a group that kills innocent people, that attacks innocents? And yes, we know that they attack innocents. The Faunus have done this when they've destroyed supply trains, burned down shops, did armed protests, and of course during the Battle of Beacon. I know a lot of the people at Beacon were huntsmen in training, but essentially they hadn't done anything wrong toward the White Fang, so in a way they were innocent. Plus, think of all the innocent people who died in Vale because of the attack on Beacon and the Grim infestation. However, this is when we get to see Ilya's philosophy on the world. She believes that there is no such thing as innocence. Essentially, what she comes to is that there is no right and there is no wrong. There is only what is best for us, as in the White Fang and the Faunus. So, this is a very, very, very dangerous philosophy to have. To the point where you no longer believe in what's right and what's wrong. Everything is gray. And I know that as an adult and as somebody who I would at least think of myself as a small bit of a philosopher, there has to be a gray area. Yes. But there must always be, no matter how, even if it's small or if it's big, there has to be a white and a black side of things. A right and a wrong. Essentially, what Ilya is saying, if she sees a crying child, a crying human child in the street, the right thing to do would be maybe to comfort the child, or at least take them to a safe place. But what Ilya would do, she would not care about that child, because it's not a Faunus, it's not part of the White Fang. Therefore, I'm either going to leave it here, or I'm going to destroy it. Ilya does not care about innocence and does not care about what is right. And that just seems so perverted with the White Fang's original philosophy that they were gonna fight for what was right for for Faunus kind. The White Fang was going to fight for Faunus kind. But now the White Fang is to a point where what is right no longer exists. There's only what is best. And what's best? Apparently slaughtering all of humanity. She says that the people in the world who are not us, aren't the White Fang and the Faunus, are the humans, the dirty, dirty humans, and the Faunus that stand around and do nothing. And so apparently, in Ilya's point of view, and essentially the White Fang's point of view, there are no non-combatants. There are no innocent people. There is us and there is them. And if you are not with us, you are against us. Even if you're not doing anything, even if you're just trying to live your life, go about your way, oh, you're not supporting the White Fang, you're not a Faunus, we're gonna kill you. We're gonna take you out of the picture. Very, very dangerous and extremist philosophies right here. Very, very dangerous. And what's even worse is what Ilya says next. Is that the only way to stamp out the hatred that humanity has for the Faunus, and that has kept the other Faunus down and scared, is fear. The only way to kill hatred is with fear. And well, when she said the only way to kill hatred, I was just like, is with love, understanding, communication? And then she was like, is fear. And I was like, no, it's not. That's stupid. That's entirely stupid. That's wrong. No, those two breed each other. And it wasn't until I actually started to take down notes that I was reminded. One of the greatest quotes in movie history. Star Wars, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Fear does not kill hate. Fear creates hate. And you can say that that philosophy cannot apply to the world of Remnant because it's Star Wars, this is RWBY, we just can't make that connection. But we can! Throughout history, fear has always led to hatred. We fear the government, or we fear who lives across the border. That will eventually lead to hatred because we hate the government, or we hate the king and the castle, or we hate who's across the border, which leads to suffering, which leads to war, which leads to violence, which leads exactly to how the White Fang is now. It's just a loop. It's a loop when you let hatred and fear command you and take a hold of you. The only way to end the suffering and to end all this hatred and fear is with communication, love, and compassion, and patience. And guess who's been saying that the whole time? Gira Belladonna. And that's why the people in charge of the White Fang right now want him out of the picture, because he has the actual solution. But they don't want that solution. No, that goes against their way of looking at the world. So they gotta take him out. Sorry I had to go on a rant there for a minute, but Ilya says she doesn't like killing people, but it gets them results. And I'm just like, okay, you said that the only way to stamp out hatred is with fear, but then you follow that up with you don't enjoy killing people, or you don't like it. Honey, you can't say something like that. If you think that the only way to get results is through killing, then you may not love killing, but you like it to an extent that it helps your cause. It's just so ironic that Ilya has gotten to this point. She's gotten to this point where the only way to achieve anything is through fear, through violence, through intimidation, and through hate. And well, isn't that what the Faunus, the White Fang, is supposed to be fighting against? The hatred, the fear, the intolerance that humans have against the Faunus. Ilya has become the very thing that she hated. She's become the very thing she swore to destroy. She's become the bigot. She's become the violent person. She's become the racist. She hasn't become the understanding paragon who's trying to achieve equality and peace between two peoples. No, she's totally drank the punch. She's been indoctrinated. She's been brainwashed by Adam and his radical white fang, and she is not coming back. I'm sorry. All you people who love Ilya out there, all of you who want her to join the good side, I cannot see it in her joining the good side at any time. No, I don't think she can. She is too indoctrinated. She's started down this path, and I don't think she can move herself from it. I don't think she can step off the path. No, she's chosen her fate. And so, she has become numero uno hated character by me. Because her philosophies are so backwards, so stupid, and just so hate-filled. She's become the thing she swore to destroy. However, Blake says that if Ilya killing Blake is what she wants, it's not going to solve anything. However, Ilya states that Blake is going to be sent to Mistral, to Adam. You know, the weird, creepy, rapey guy. Now that's a good idea. While her family is going to be silenced and taken care of. And, well, Blake is completely shocked by this. Once again, the people she cares about are suffering for the things that she has done. And I just hope that she doesn't regress further like she did at the end of Volume 3 because of this. So I'm hoping that no harm comes to her family. And it's after this that we get to see a little more insight to the relationship that Ilya, Blake, and Adam had in the past. Blake states that this is not Ilya, this is not who she became. And Ilya states, yes it is. However, you were too busy staring at Adam, going for Adam to notice. So this confirms Blake had an infatuation with Adam. Not only was Adam her mentor and her teacher and her leader, but we all know, possible lover. They may have done the do. And Blake had an infatuation with him because she was inspired by his drive and his conviction until she saw it as what it truly is, some form of mental sickness, and decided to GTFO. And Ilya states that she had wished that Blake had seen her and looked at her the same way she looked at Adam. And she visually blushes at this, which shows that we may just have seen Ilya's true colors on the form of romance. Ilya may be the first true lesbian character in the canon of RWBY. That's, you know, an actual character, not some sort of background model. She had feelings for Blake. She cared for Blake. She wanted Blake to see her the way Blake saw Adam. However, Blake didn't give her this form of attention. So not only were they friends and are now opposites philosophically in the whole aspect that they look at things, but in Ilya's point of view, she is the lover scorn. The lover that never got love, if you will. And to be honest, the way that they delivered this connection, the way that they delivered this this idea that, oh, Ilya's possibly lesbian and loved Blake, I liked it. It didn't just come out of nowhere. I mean, it kind of sort of did, but it was the way that it was presented that it was instead of it being just like, oh, okay, she's just a lesbian character, it was, oh, well, that kind of makes a lot of sense now. It more connected dots than it was just slapped onto a character. And I try to say every time when I talk about something like this, if you're going to make a character gay, lesbian, or whatever, don't just make them a gay character. Don't just make them a lesbian character. Make them a character that happens to be gay or lesbian. And that's what they've done with Ilya. Being gay, being a lesbian, is not her persona. It's not her personality quirk. Her personality quirk is being completely and utter batshit crazy and having the worst lookout on life possible. Who just so happened to be lesbian. And so Ilya leaves Blake to her captors. Ilya and Yuma head off to the Belladonna Manor. So it appears that Ilya is going to be the one driving the blade into her family's hearts, which just makes it all the more terrible that it's actually happening. And I believe that it's truly here that Blake knows that Ilya is too far gone to save. She wanted to help Ilya. She wanted to help her the way that Sun helped her. She wanted to bring her back to the light, to help her try to see reason. But after this, after saying, oh yes, I'm taking you to Adam, these are my thoughts on things, and I'm gonna kill your family, I think Blake is completely done with playing nice kitty. And it's here that we actually see Blake brought back up, Sun came with her, and they're able to take out the few White Fang members that are left, and they then begin to race back to the Belladonna Manor. Sun is calling the police, and Blake is actually calling her mother to see if the attack has actually happened. And when we see Collie's phone ringing, we see that yes, the attack has indeed began. It looks like White Fang troops have infiltrated the Belladonna Manor, and the Belladonnas and their bodyguards are putting up the best form of fight that they can. Collie is able to take cover in one of the main sitting areas and is able to fend off a few enemy combatants with a pistol dropped by a wounded bodyguard of hers. And let me just say, I understand the concept and the cool design of this weapon. It's a form of a flintlock pistol with a bayonet on it. Yet, it's fired multiple times. And that just defeats the purpose of it being a flintlock pistol. Or at least looking like a flintlock pistol. Again, design, it looks cool, rule of cool and RWBY and all that. However, practicality in my mind states, that should just fire once and then have to be reloaded. So, I mean, that design was kind of a loss on me. And we see that Gira is also putting up a defense with a few of his other bodyguards, and he's telling them, pleading for them to go and find his wife and protect her. And we see that Gira isn't fighting with guns or any form of weaponry, he is just going bare fists on them. And when a few of his bodyguards fall and it looks like he is the last one left in that room, we see that the final combatants of the White Fang that are left in this room are a few White Fang grunts and Corsican Finnick. To be honest, I find that incredibly stupid. Corsican Finnick have not shown themselves to be fighters in any way. Plus, they appear to be diplomats, or at least espionage agents. People who are more fitting controlling people rather than going into battle. And here they are in battle. Okay, Corsican Finnick, let's have a heart-to-heart. What if things don't go the way that they're supposed to? What if the Belladonnas escape? What if they're able to get the message out? What if something happens that doesn't go in your favor? You being there incriminates you personally. If you hadn't gone there, then it could have been like, we were attacked by the White Fang, and Corsican Finnick can just be like, oh, that's terrible. They must have been some sort of radical people that came in. We're so sorry, because Corsican Finnick are the White Fang representatives on Menagerie. But if they hadn't gone to actually fight and try to kill Gira themselves, they could have kept themselves clean. But no, I guess they need to personally go there and kill Gira themselves? I don't know. It's just stupid that these people would come instead of, you know, sending their lackeys, and it's like, well, you wanted to send Ilya, and then Yuma is also going there, you know, your assassin people. Why? You can't just trust it to them? You can't? You have to make sure you do it yourself? Why? Why couldn't you just send like 50 more White Fang people? It's just dumb. The White Fang is dumb. I don't know how they've survived this long. However, my anger over Corsican Finnick was quickly swept away when Gira, he just pretty much says, he goes Samuel L. Jackson on this and says, enough is enough! He throws off his cloak and reveals that his faunus trait are his finger claws. And not only does he have panther-like claws on his hands, he also seems to enlarge his canines and is able to let out a mighty bestial roar. And I could only equivalent this to him going full berserker Wolverine, and he is just going to tear all that is left of the White Fang in that room completely apart. I was worried for Gira. I was worried that Gira is going to die. But now that I see this, he's not going to go down without a fight. He's going to take, he's probably going to take, if he's going to die, all of the White Fang that have attacked his man are down with him before he actually goes down. Even if his aura is depleted and he's hit by something, that's not going to stop him. At least not at first. It looks pretty bad for the Belladonnas right now. Kali's pinned down, Gira's outnumbered and going into a berserk rage. However, Sun and Blake are on the way, and hopefully the police are too. And that's where the episode ends. On a cliffhanger. Can we not stop on cliffhangers, please? I know you want to keep us watching the show, but there's only so much we can take. And so that was RWBY Volume 5, Episode 8. And it was pretty freaking good, to be honest. It was a very Blake-centered episode. Even the parts where it wasn't, you know, actually on Blake's side of the story, Blake was still a big part of what was being talked about. And, well, I think Blake has kind of not gotten a lot of development, story, plot progression in this volume all that much. I mean, she had a lot of it in Volume 4, so I mean, it's only fair that it's more distributed in Volume 5. But I think this episode was really key to really tie up loose ends about how the rest of Team RWBY felt about Blake and the stuff that was going to be going down at the Belladonna Manor. However, I still have to bring this up about the White Fang. The White Fang are supposed to be a group that is for faunus equality. Well, now for faunus supremacy. And you would think that through this transition, through all of this, there would be a few members of the White Fang that wouldn't be okay with going and attacking the former leader of the White Fang and killing fellow faunus. You know, like the bodyguards and the Belladonnas themselves. Of course, Corsican Finnick may have only chosen the people who were the most loyal to Adam to go and, you know, do this mission. But it just still seems weird that no one in the White Fang is standing up and saying, you know, I was just wondering, you know, we're killing a lot of fellow faunus. Aren't we supposed to be protecting them or something? And I know what Ilya said in this episode, you know, you're either with us or you're against us. There's us, and then there's the humans and the faunus that just kind of, you know, stand by and do nothing. But you would think that a faunus supremacy group would do all in their power to not harm fellow faunus, if faunus are supposed to be the superior race. I just find it a real big, just missed opportunity. There could have been political intrigue in the White Fang. And maybe if that was actually there, the White Fang would be more sympathetic. But right now, no. It's just a hate-filled group of bigots that want to destroy a race because of past inequivalences and some current discrimination. It's not the way to do things. It's not the way to do things. The White Fang is doomed to destroy itself. I'm just glad that I just hope that it actually happens during the show and I can witness it. Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and favorite if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you feel inclined to. There's going to be links down in the description taking you to some other videos that I've done. And, you know, that's pretty much it. I really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys next time out there in YouTube land. Be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah!
I sense much fear in you.